Hello everyone. So yeah, interesting topic of the night, relationships. And we're going to talk a little bit about us, about healers, lightworkers, empaths, caregivers, right? Also called, sometimes, depends on the person, codependents. All right, so yeah, I'm going to explain all of this as soon as some people log on here. Hi, good to see you. How's the eclipse treating you? Okay? Brightening your path a little bit? Shouldn't be yet. Still a lot of confusion in the air. We just had a lunar eclipse, which causes, it's almost like the moon card, right? It causes a lot of confusion and cloudiness, especially with all these retrogrades and with this Venus-Pluto aspect that we have going on. But, you know, coming up next Monday on the 21st, we're going to have that solar eclipse, which would, you know, start new beginnings. It's going to be a nice new moon, right? Hi there. Good to see you all. Thanks for joining. Oh, that's good, Alexandria. So I'm Brandy Joy, for those of you that are just joining. And we're going to talk about the very typical relationship between an empathic, light-working healer and a narcissist or vampire, also known as. Sometimes could be a sociopath, charmer. Hi, good to see ya. Okay. So for those of you in my Vibe Tribe community, you know that I shared a cool interview the other day by Teal Swan and Ross Rosenberg, I think his name is. And he's a specialist in codependency. And Teal Swan is a great spiritual teacher and teaches about relationships and psychology and all kinds of cool stuff. They talked a little bit about this. Hi. Yeah, so where shall I start? Where shall I start? I guess I could define it for you. So many lightworkers are empaths because of abuse, because they have been through a lot of trauma. And unfortunately, it's, you know, I always think, when I think of a lightworker, I typically think of the Hanged Man card in the tarot deck. And that's because a lot of times it's a self-sacrificing type of archetype, where you've had to self-sacrifice, you're very empathic, and usually if you're an empath, you have experienced trauma in childhood. It could be that you never knew how somebody was going to act, right? So you never knew how somebody was going to act towards you, so you would have to learn how to read people really quick. So as a child, as a baby even, you would be like, you know, watching, you know, their eyes and their responses and their energy and stuff, and really tuning into it in order to, you know how to act and how to react. And so you're a people pleaser. You're a pro at staving off abandonment. You know, a lot of light workers, I'm not saying all light workers, a lot of light workers, you know, are healed, I'm sure. But I'm sure many of you have been in a relationship or even a friendship relationship with a narcissist, because we do attract vampires. And, you know, a lot of people get confused because they say, well, why would you attract, if you're like this empathic healer, light worker, great person, right? Why would you attract a vampire? Why would you attract a narcissist? Well, the thing is, law of attraction, like attracts like, right? Now, a lot of people don't get this, that the narcissist and the codependent, the caregiver, have the same pain body. And pain bodies attract each other. If you have the same pain body as another person, you get each other in an unconscious way and you attract each other. But here's the kicker. The reason why the narcissist and the light worker come together, because they've actually gone to two polar extremes on the same scale, right? So you have this line called, you know, let's say this line is saying, you know, how do I deal with my trauma, right? And the trauma in this regard, the pain body, is loneliness, right? You feel like you are not really connected, right? When you're little, you know, maybe the trauma was that your mother or father had borderline personality disorder, where you never knew how they were going to act. Or maybe one of them was a drug addict or an alcoholic, you know, highly emotional, so you never knew how they were going to act. Or maybe one of them was a narcissist. You never knew how they were going to act. And so you have to learn how to empathically read them and then please them so that they don't lash out and abuse you, right? So you're both coming from abuse. The narcissist and the light worker are coming from abusive situations, and they both had to learn how to deal with it in different ways. They both had to become people pleasers, but not really feeling connected, feeling disconnected. And the narcissist becomes very numb. They become very dissociated, and even the codependent a lot of times does as well. So they have the same pain body, but the way that they have polarized with the issue, how they dealt with it and reacted to it, was two extreme opposite ways. And they have different types of abuse that cause, you know, the way that the parent was treating them. Or, you know, it's usually a parent, but it could even be a little later, maybe somebody else was abusing them. So you have these two extremes. Everything's electromagnetic, right? So you have this giver, this healer, learning how to people please, not showing, you know, their true emotions. If a light worker, you know, I don't really want to say light worker because not all light workers are like this, but it's typical of an empath, someone that's on the healing path, that's trying to self-develop and very self-aware and trying to help other people. A lot of times they've been abused. A lot of times they've gone through a lot of trauma. They understand it. And so they're attracted to narcissists because they're trying to help them heal. And because they see that mirror reflection of themselves within them, and they can understand the loneliness. They can understand the lack of self-esteem. They can understand that, you know, they have this trauma inside of them, and that's why they're attracted. You have this electromagnetic thing going on. You have the electro, which is the codependent light worker caregiver, and then you have the magnetic void of a narcissist. The narcissist, both of them feel a lack of love, a lack of connection. And so the narcissist is like, you know, putting on this whole vibration of, hey, I'm so charming and sexy and dominant and assertive and I'm so confident, right? And then you have this other person, this codependent, that is more like the people pleaser that can validate, you know, can make everybody feel good about themselves. And, you know, they'll say, oh, you know, I'm so sorry that, you know, your boss did that. You know, tell me more about that. How can I help you? Oh, you know, and it's always this understanding, you know, because they learned how to please, you know. So they both have the same pain body, and that's why they electromagnetically attract each other, but they're so opposite at the same time, you know. So it's a really hard relationship to get out of, and when you get out of it, if you're not healed, if you haven't gotten over that loneliness and that feeling of disconnect, and feeling like you're not good enough and that you don't love yourself, which is the problem, you're not really in self-love, then you're going to attract it all over again, because it's an electromagnetic thing where you automatically attract that polar opposite, but a same pain body. And you're going to keep doing it over and over again, right? So it's the nobody loves me pain body. And it's not that you go around as a light worker or a caregiver, caretaker, whatever you might be, and saying, oh, nobody loves me. You know, that's the narcissist. The narcissist will be like, nobody likes me. You know, and then the light worker, that's the codependent, will be, oh, I love you. I love you. How can you say that? And why are you treating me like this? You don't love me. And so it's like constant dynamic of nobody loves me. But it comes out in very different ways. And so you end up with very problematic attachment styles between the two. Okay, so attachment styles was one of my favorite subjects in psychology, okay, in communication and psychology, actually. I used to teach this at UCF, University of Central Florida. An attachment style, you learn to attach as a child, and then it actually changes as you attach to different people as you grow older. Okay, but you learn to attach based on either, you know, secure, insecure, or avoidant personalities. Okay, so let's say if you had a parent that was avoidant, you would become probably an insecure attachment style, meaning that they avoided you, right? They would avoid you and neglect you. And so you would become insecure. And so you're always clinging and trying to manipulate. Oh, please love me. Oh, here, let me please you so you love me. And that's an insecure attachment type. You become that clingy, needy person, right? And that can develop even as you're older. Let's say you're secure, and then you get older and you marry someone that's an avoidant, and they just avoid you and they'll leave and you won't even hear from them, and you'll be like, what is going on? And so you become like very focused on the relationship, and so you can develop an insecure attachment style through that. Insecure is that clingy, needy attachment style because you feel like, oh my God, I'm going to be abandoned, right? And then you have the avoidant, which is like, oh, get off me, you know, stop trying to control me, right? That's the avoidant. So a lot of times, now it isn't always the case, right? Nothing ever is, but typically a narcissist will be an avoidant. Opposites attract. Yeah, typically narcissists are avoidant. Okay, typically. Now they can be insecure as well. It just depends on the narcissist. Typically they're avoidant. And the codependent would be usually the insecure. Because the codependent is, oh, I love you. Let me do all of these wonderful things for you. And I'll listen to you. And I'm so compassionate, empathic, and accepting, and self-sacrificing. You know, I'll do anything for you. I'll die for you. You've heard these songs before, right? And the narcissist is like, you know, whines and pouts and drinks and smokes and disassociates. And so you have this healer constantly trying to heal the narcissist instead of dealing with their own trauma on the inside. They want to avoid that. And instead, I'm going to help you and you and you. And hey, you're a narcissist. Come on over here and let's help you heal. I'm going to fix you. I'm going to help you out, right? I love you. I'm going to help you. Because you see the same pain body in that person. And, you know, the narcissist isn't ever going to give back the same amount of love, or even an amount that they should in a relationship, which is just like a normal amount. The narcissist will always hold back love. The narcissist will play a lot of emotional manipulation games because they feel such a void, such a numbness. You know, they typically cheat, lie, manipulate, drink, smoke. They really don't care. A narcissist usually doesn't really ever care about anyone else, because it comes down to, if you can't love yourself, how can you really love another person, right? It all begins with self-love. If you can't even love yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and look in your own eyes and love yourself, you can't ever really love another person. So, with that being said, we'll talk about the addictiveness of this type of relationship dynamic. Okay, so there's an addictive quality with this, right? So you have dopamine. All right, we'll start there. Dopamine is the happy hormone. It's a happy hormone. That's what you get when you do pleasurable things like eat and have sex or smoke weed, right? You get a lot of dopamine release. And so this is the thing that triggers and causes addictions. This is if people get addicted to their own dopamine release. Now, love, sex, all that stuff is dopamine release. And when you do something pleasurable, that causes dopamine to release. So what happens with the relationship with the narcissist and the codependent, what's called codependent. Codependent means you take care of people, right? And you're constantly trying to bring them up and they keep pulling you back down. So the codependent will give love. Oh, let me help you. Here, let me sit and talk to you for an hour or two about how wonderful you are, and we'll try to help you heal, and what can I do for you, right? And as they give love and as they help the narcissist and they see the narcissist happy, they have a dopamine release. Now, at the same time, the narcissist is taking and saying, oh my goodness, thank you. This person just cares for me so much. They love me so much. It's never about that other person for a narcissist. It's about, what are they doing for me? And if, you know, but it's never enough because they don't love themselves. But they're getting this dopamine release when they give love, right? But the narcissist is also looking for love elsewhere because they never can truly connect to the codependent. They can never truly connect to them. They can never truly really love them because they don't even love themselves again, right? So the codependent validates the narcissist. That's really what it comes down to. They validate them, they make them feel secure, they make them feel loved. And no matter how much they give them or try to heal them, it will never actually help. Because, okay, narcissist isn't going to try to help themselves, typically. Only if they are pressured into it for an external reason or something. They won't typically try to help themselves. They are not even aware that they're a narcissist. So what questions do you have? Yeah, Christine, yeah. Yeah, a lot of my relationships, not all of them, but a lot of them, I don't know about a lot of them, a few of them have been with narcissists. And yeah, with a narcissist, it's really hard to see because they're great liars, they're charming. You know, narcissists can charm the hell out of you. They can manipulate the hell out of you because they really don't care when it comes down to it. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's a really tough relationship, and it's hard to get out of because typically you're getting something out of it. You know, you're getting something out of it, and the light worker wants to help them heal, always trying to help them heal. Like, I'm going to fix you. We're going to fix you. You're going to be great. You know, but they never actually heal themselves, so they keep attracting that same thing typically. Yeah. And if you ask, you know, if you say, hey, am I a narcissist? No, you're not a narcissist. So if you're questioning yourself, that's another thing about the self-polarization that we go through is the light worker has a whole lot of self-awareness, right? So much that it's like a polar, like, oh my God, self-aware. Like they're just constantly overanalyzing themselves and trying to fix themselves and everybody else around them and everything, right? And then you have the narcissist, which has zero self-awareness. So it's like these two opposites too, you know? And so it's really hard for a light worker to understand a narcissist, really. You know, you can read about it and understand it that way, but it's hard for you to really relate to it. And it's like, well, why do you treat me that way? Why would you do that? Like, I don't understand that. You know, it's just like this whole, like, I don't get that. Like, doesn't even make sense to me. Let's try to fix this. That's what it comes down to for a light worker. Yeah, my ex-husband was a narcissist as well. He's now in prison for life. So, yeah, that's the kind of narcissist he was. He was a sociopath. And I didn't know it, because he was extremely charming. The thing is about all those narcissists that I have dated is they have all been those guys that everybody loves. Everybody wants to be them. They either want to be them or they want to sleep with them. You know, it's just this, like, everybody has to love this person because that's the narcissist, is they want everybody to love them. So they're great actors, they're great charmers, they're emotional manipulators. And, you know, they use people. They're vampires. They use people because they have such a void in them. Yeah, I teach psychic development and I do tarot reading and stuff. So even when you are any kind of healer or psychic or anything, you're still living out the play of life. And it's hard to see things sometimes that are right in your face that you're closest to. And even when you do see them, you still try to fix them. Why do narcissists cling to and feed off empaths? Because they're void of any type of self-love. And so they're constantly looking for self-love. Here's an example for you. I have an ex-boyfriend. I could tell you about a few that were like this, but one in particular. He was an extreme narcissist, and I did not know. I thought he was, you know, I found out he was an alcoholic in the midst of our relationship, and then I was like, I never really realized that he was a narcissist. I questioned it, but I didn't know because he was really good at hiding things. He was an emotional manipulator. And we went to therapy and things, and then I find out a year later that, you know, because he was telling me when we were in therapy that he was this other person, that he was this really good person, and that the problems we had when he was drinking was just because he was drinking. But then I find out a year later that when he was sober, he left me and went ahead and well, he left me as in like he left the house for a few months, and I found out that he was actually sleeping with other women right when he left. Even though like he left and it wasn't because of me, it was just because he said he was moving out and you know, he needed to learn to take care of himself because, again, being the codependent that I am, I was trying to take care of him. And the thing is, I was trying to teach him to take care of himself. So I was always like, hey, you know, this is how you get a job. Here, this is how you do a resume. This is where, you know, I took him to get his GPS and I got him a bartending license and all this stuff to help him. And I thought that he was actually trying to grow, and he was a little bit, but then he just took off because he had been sober for about 7 months at that point. And I thought the relationship was getting better, but as soon as it got to that point where he was actually doing pretty good and feeling a little bit better about himself, he took off. And when he took off, you know, I was like, why did you move out? And he's just telling me these lies, you know, telling me these lies, and I didn't know they were lies. I thought he was just having mental problems and going through his treatment, you know, and trying to fix himself, when in fact he left me and immediately found a girl that couldn't stand me because she was very jealous of me and very jealous of our relationship. And he went to her immediately, like that weekend, and started dating her. And I just found all this out. And he was sober. So I thought that he was just that person when he was drunk, because he had me believe that all through our therapy of 7 months. And then I come to find out that actually he was this narcissistic, like, and then he was bouncing around sleeping with all these different people. I found out he was bisexual. All this stuff about this guy. I had no idea. I thought he was like such a sweet, empathic guy. I taught him tarot and he was a good tarot reader. But he had a void, and he told me that. Even, you know, when he came back, he was still dating me, and he was telling me I can't be in a relationship, you know, because I just can't. I can't be in a relationship. And you know, I was like, oh, no, you can be in a relationship. You just have to keep going to therapy, you know? And I'm thinking, you know, he's this other person. When I find out, he's actually a totally another person. So that's a typical narcissist. Same thing with my ex-husband. You know, he cheated on me. I left him, and I found out that he was this totally other person. His brother called me and told me, hey, you know, my brother was this other person that you didn't know about. Like, he was going to strip clubs and all kinds. I was just like, what? You know, I had no idea. So, you know, we attract these people based on our pain bodies. So if you heal your pain body and you work on yourself, then you'll attract a better person, you know, but you have to heal that pain body, that internal pain body issue, because if you don't, you're going to keep attracting that same pain body. That's the law of attraction. Yeah, the narcissistic empathic relationship is actually very common. It's a very common relationship. You know, the narcissist is usually very edgy and fun, and they light up the room, you know, because they're a narcissist and they want everybody to love them, you know. Yeah, there's not usually any help for a narcissist. They have to actually grow and develop and everything from that themselves. You can't actually help them. The more you try to help them, the more they'll avoid, the more they'll usually become very, what's the word, resentful towards you. Yeah. I'm missing a chip, yeah. Personality disorders, exactly. Yeah, thank you. You can't cure personality disorders. That's what, yep. Yeah, it's a personality disorder, and that's what happens, you know, when you're a child. Narcissists and codependents are dealing with parents, caretakers, that have personality disorders and trauma. Yeah, you can treat the anxiety and the depression and stuff, but you can't treat, yes, thank you. The personality disorder is a personality disorder, and that's a very hard thing to overcome, extremely hard. In fact, especially narcissism. Yeah, I mean, so I thought that my ex just had like some anxiety disorder, you know, problems with drinking and stuff. And yeah, the narcissists typically do. They typically have, typically drink and numb out and dissociate, you know. Oh, you have borderline? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a lot of lack of self-awareness out there, which is, which is narcissism. You have a friend that's oblivious to narcissistic behavior. You can't go around helping everybody. If your friend is just oblivious to it, that's not your problem. You just have to distance yourself from the vampires and stuff. When you realize that someone is like that they really don't care about you, and they don't have the self-love, and they don't want to heal from the self-love. It's funny. Here's a funny story for you. I actually, after he had left me last year, I contacted this therapist. I had been putting him through therapy and stuff, and I contacted this therapist that does extreme trauma work, right, over in Sarasota, which is a few hours from here. And she was really good, and so I was going to try to help him get in with her. And I contacted her and said, hey, so my boyfriend has a lot of trauma in his life, and what could we set something up, or whatever. And she said, I'm sorry, but if he doesn't contact me himself, there's nothing I can do, because that means underlying issues that he's not trying to heal himself, you're trying to heal him. And I was like, you're right. So I just told him about it and gave him her information, and of course he never followed through with it. I gave him a lot of stuff to try to help him, and he didn't want it, because that's how a narcissist is. They don't want to actually self-heal. They just want to go around and get as much love as they can from everyone, and just kind of suck everybody dry, suck the life force out of them. They don't actually try to heal themselves, unfortunately. They're very numb, narcissist, and they've learned to associate their feelings with pain, and they associate shutting down and numbing out to pleasure, that from all the abuse and trauma they've gone through. But as a light worker, you can't go heal them, because, trust me, I've tried it many times with different people, and it just doesn't work. Thank you. Yeah, so, that really comes down to conditioning. I took a bunch of conditioning classes when I was in college, and, our brain works to protect us, right? And when you're conditioned that, when you act emotionally or, express your feelings and you get hurt by it, that you're conditioned to not do that anymore, and you're conditioned to numb out so that you don't keep getting hurt. It's unfortunate and it's sad, but there's nothing you can do. The narcissist has to deal with their own stuff. You can't actually heal them. They're just going to bounce around from person to person, and even when they're in a relationship, they look for other people to validate them, Empaths are a narcissist nightmare. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah, bipolar. Yeah, bipolar is a separate thing. Bipolar is just up and down, emotions, like very dramatic up and down emotions. A lot of my exes, they had personality disorders, and they also had bipolar and stuff like that. Yeah, I've been around a lot of mental illness, and so that's why I went to school for psychology and communication, because I was always trying to figure out things. And it's funny, back in 1999, I was married, and I was taking motivational psychology and classical conditioning and stuff, and I realized at the time that I was with a narcissist. I realized that the person I was with was not, did not love me, was not a good person for me, and I really internalized that. And I had been with him for about, I think it was 8 years at that time. And when that happened, I was like, nope, and I left him. And if it wasn't for going to school for psychology, I probably would have ended up staying with him, because he was always trying to get me to have a baby, and he really was very, very clingy, but also very narcissistic. He was the clingy, insecure narcissistic. He wasn't the avoidant. A lot of them are avoidant, but he was actually clingy. He would control me, and I realized that he was actually a narcissist, and he was really screwed up and didn't care about me, and I left him. You know, so thank goodness I went to psychology school, because, oh man, he's in prison for life. He was not a good person. I thought he was a good person. You know, a lot of times they come out very compassionate, you know. They're good at that. Very charming. Charming, charming, charming. People are usually very attracted to narcissists. You know, but the codependent, you know, the healer sees a mirror of their own pain all over the narcissist, and so they're always trying to heal them instead of healing their own trauma. Oh, wow. That's no good. Yeah. Yeah, it helped me a whole lot going to psychology school. I'm one of those over-analyzers. I love to analyze the crap out of everything. Yeah, they're charming for a short period of time. Good point, Krishina. Yeah, they're charming to everyone else, right? But when they get into an intimate relationship with you, you realize how not charming they are. You know, how it was funny because I remember my last, one of my last narcissistic relationships. You know, he was the most, like, everybody in Orlando knew the guy, and everybody thought he was so, like, cool and fun and sweet. And all of a sudden, like, he moved in with me, and I was like, who the hell is this? You know, I actually started taking pictures of him when he was pouting and just, like, angry all the time, just sitting around, just, like, horrible looks on his face. And I was just like, really? Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, what's wrong with you? And I would say, hey, let's go to the beach or go do something. And we would go and he'd just sit there and pout and, like, look angry, you know. And then as soon as somebody else would walk up, as soon as somebody looked at him, hi, you know, it was like this huge charmer came out. And it was just like, I would be like, why are you being so nice to that person after you're being mean to me? Like, you don't even enjoy being with me right now. And he's like, he would say things like, well, I can have eye contact with people I don't know because I don't care about them. And, you know, he started saying things like that to me, and I'm like, what? I don't understand. That's the strangest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, and they'll bait and hook you. So what they'll typically do is they'll like not give you love, and then as soon as, like, you're, like, getting away from them, oh no, I love you, I'm so sorry, you know, they'll hook you back in, you know, they'll keep hooking you back in, you know, because they want to make sure that you're still going to validate them, you're still going to love them, you're still going to give them if they need something, you know. And they're users, they take advantage of people, they really do, because they really just don't care. Yeah. Aw, thanks. Yeah, I've been working on a lot of self-healing this week. You know, after the shock of realizing that that person was such an extreme narcissist, you know, I did not realize that. Yeah, I'm on Facebook Live. Yeah, Brandy Joy TV is my my Facebook name and my YouTube name. That's the thing about, you know, caregiver, light worker, codependent, empaths, is that we do come off as, you know, we have it together. I'm snapping you crying laughing, but I like this live stream. Oh yeah, the Jekyll and Hyde. Exactly. The narcissist is the best Jekyll and Hyde. Yes, that is the definite. Oh my goodness. Yeah. For sure. Because you get blown away by it. You're like, you're trying to fix it. You're like, wait, why are you acting like that? Like, I don't understand. Let me fix you. You either manage your emotions or they manage you. Always walking on eggshells. Yes. You do. You end up walking on eggshells, and codependents are good at that, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to, like, upset him. Oh, he's having anxiety. He's depressed. Oh my goodness, you know. So it's always this, like, walking on eggshells thing. Absolutely. How do you heal the trauma in self after the wrath of a narcissist? Yeah. I feel sad for my ex. It's haunting. Well, you have to really go through codependent therapy. There's different ways you can go about it. You could you could either get somebody that specializes in codependency issues and they could actually do therapy with you, or you could get a book or an audio book on it. Ross Rosenberg, I was talking about early on tonight, he actually writes books on this, and he's a therapist and specializes in codependency. He actually was a codependent. He's a recovered codependent, and he helps other people recover from codependency issues. And a lot of codependency issues have a lot to do with drugs and alcohol. So you'll notice a lot of codependents are either in AA or the other one that is supports for the codependents that are with people that are alcoholics and stuff. You know, I was advised, I went to this one therapist, I remember, and she was like, you need to go to that group. And I'm like, I went to the group and I was like, this doesn't help me. I'm overly self-aware. You know, just give me the techniques. So I'm actually looking into that as well. Teal Swan has a new book, The Completion Process, and that's supposed to help people that have had trauma to self-heal. So that's something I'm going to look into, is Teal Swan's book on healing your own trauma, Completion Process, I think. And then Ross Rosenberg is a great resource. He actually has a book called The Human Magnet Syndrome, which is about the narcissist codependent relationship. It's called The Human Magnet Syndrome, Why We Love People Who Hurt Us by Ross Rosenberg. And so I want to look into that book. I think he has a newer one too that has more technique in it. And you can actually take a quiz and you can see where you are on the scale. I guess he was explaining some type of scale where you say, okay, so a healthy person's right here in the middle, right? This is a healthy relationship. But if you take the test and you end up over here, right, you're a codependent. If you end up over here, you're a narcissist. And so these two come together and zero out, right? Because that's why they're magnets. They're polarized. You pull them together. So the healthy relationship is in the middle, and that's what these two are trying to do, is create a healthy relationship. So that electromagnetic thing. In her book, A Service for Earth Angels. Thanks, Elaine. Yeah, I love Teal Swan too. She's great. She's a great psychologist, isn't she? Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, empaths have to deal with their sensitivity plus the emotions of others. Yeah, and I have a video I did on empaths as well, if you ever want to watch that. And I talk about how, you know, an empath really has to, you know, doesn't understand how to set boundaries. You know, so we typically will be a little too understanding, let people walk all over us, you know, and we had to learn to read people very young. So when we learn to read people very young, because we don't want to trigger people, right, we become very empathic. And narcissists love empaths. Teal Swan, yeah, Teal Swan. No, I've never been there before in Bradenton. Yeah. Let's see, I have a few notes here. Let me see if I missed anything. Thanks, cool to check that out. Do you think there's a past life connection between the narcissist and empath? There definitely can be, for sure. You know, we're all souls, we're all soul groups, we're all the same energy, as my tattoo always shows. We're all the same energy. And so, you know, we're all just one, really. You know, we're different angles of expression. And so, yeah, the closer you are, the more you are attracted to somebody, and the more, you know, you have somebody in your life and stuff. A lot of times you've had past lives together, and, you know, that even on the other side, you're with a lot of the same people. You know, and that's why when you are reincarnated, a lot of time you reincarnate with the same soul group areas, which are even cultures, right? So, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so the narcissist is constantly looking for external gratification. I wrote some things down here. So they can feel some love and some connection. They're both looking for connection. They both have the same urge, and they both come off very confident because they've learned to do that. But the narcissist can actually give love. The narcissist can't give love. They only know how to take. You know, and what they give off is an illusion for the need of their own, to get their own void filled. That's what the narcissist does. Yeah. Yeah, they need your energy. They're little vampires. Yeah, the narcissist, you know, just gives a little bit, just enough to keep the codependent hooked, you know. And unfortunately, Well, I think I went over everything on here, actually. Numbing out, addiction cycles, attachments. I think I gave y'all a whole psychology class. It was like a university level psychology class on codependency. But remember, both have fear of loneliness, you know, and feelings of loneliness that's deeply rooted from childhood. And they got conditional love. Well, the codependent got conditional love. The narcissist might not have really got any love. So they have that same thing going on. And like I said, check out Ross Rosenberg and Teal Swan for some healing modalities for this issue. And as you all know, I always say that Tantra is a wonderful healer. It's a great way to really connect with your higher self and learn to connect with other people. I love tantric work. Yeah, so a narcissist is really oblivious to the pain they cause, and they don't accept responsibility for it. So it's not that they're out there going, oh, I want to hurt people. The narcissist just doesn't, they're very disconnected. They're very numb, and they really just, they don't think they're causing pain. They think it's the other person's fault. It's everybody else's fault. It's their own issue. They're not really thinking about other people. They're only thinking about themselves. They really don't know how to. So that's narcissism. A lot of people like to say narcissism is self-love. It's not self-love at all. It's a lack of love, lack of self-love. And that void, that numbness that they have creates this ego personality that's very strong and almost arrogant personality, and very charming, emotionally manipulative, lying, because they really just don't care, because they never felt that love that they needed. So it's not something you can really go and heal somebody. They have to actually want to go heal themselves and work on it themselves. Otherwise, you know, there's nothing you can do for them. So, I hope that gave you guys some insight. Yeah, they cry and they feel a lot of pain, but that's for themselves. Yeah, Christina says, so they cry and feel pain, they're suffering. Yeah, absolutely, and that's why the Lightworker's always trying to help them. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. And everybody has different levels. It's not like there's just one level. You know, you have different levels of narcissism, just like you have different levels of dissociative identity disorder and everything. You know, there's always different levels. So you have some that are so extreme that they're a sociopath. And a sociopath, you know, they'll kill people and they won't care. That's extreme narcissism to the other side, right? But then you have the narcissist that is, you know, more on the edge of it. It's like they're really selfish, they're very manipulative, they'll lie and cheat, they really don't care, and especially if you don't know, you know, but they're not at that level where they would actually kill anybody. So you have the different levels of it. It's not like everybody's just one type. You can't just put everybody in a box, you know. Everybody's a little different, and they're going to have different levels and forms of it, you know. And everybody heals differently too, so. Yeah, they put blame on others to make themselves look good. Absolutely, yeah. If they have their, if they are re-exposed to their trauma in another person, they start to heal? Maybe, I don't know. It depends on the person. Really? It could help. So Cindy says, will you be having your classes on Tantra? I do have a course on Tantra. It's a video course. It's only $25. It's on Vibe Courses, V-I-B-E, vibecourses.com. And you can just click on that and open it up if you want. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I think I'll do a webinar on it sometimes, though. I should put together a webinar and, you know, a little workshop and everything on Tantra for you guys and talk to you a little bit about it. Oh, that's great. He changed in his 50s. Yeah, and they can. You know, everybody can heal. Everybody has the ability to evolve and heal, but narcissism is a hard one. Personality disorders are very, very difficult to deal with. Yeah. So that's really cool. But yeah, let me know if y'all need any links to my meditation courses, my tarot class, or if you want a reading. I do tarot readings. As many of you know, I do astrology readings. I did an awesome astrology reading with a friend tonight. And yeah, so Let me know if you need anything. Thanks for joining, you guys. Happy solar eclipse to you. Woo! Big solar eclipse happening on Monday the 21st, and that should be interesting. Hopefully we'll all get some light shed on us and some nice new beginnings, right? It'll be a new moon on steroids, like I was talking about the other night. Yeah, Elaine, yeah, it's something I've been thinking about nonstop since I heard, you know, about my ex, what he did to me. I was like, I had no idea. I thought he was actually a pretty good person, but now I know better. So, anyways, thanks everybody. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you on Monday night on the solar eclipse. We'll be doing some tarot reading next Monday. Bye for now. Thanks for joining. Bye, y'all. Feedback's always appreciated. I'd love to hear from you.